Good. So today we would be covering few more insights related to the Power BI. We started with the get data. How do we get any specific data? How do we make sure that the data is interpreted in any basic charts? Now we kind of see how these charts work, how these charts play an important role. And only in Power BI, not only the charts as well as the page which you're working in, I mean the view which you're working in, that can also be changed. Now, how is it possible that we are going to see today? Now I've taken a new page. So we kind of seen three different visuals or two different pages or two different visuals on different pages. Now, if you want a new page, simply click on this option, plus icon in the downward the tab where you'll get a new page. Now we have a flexibility. If you double click on that, we can rename that page also. If you double click on that, we have a flexibility to rename that page. Whatever name you want, you can rename it to that specific name. Now for now, let me delete both the tabs. Now this is the default page 3. Now we have seen a few components in the session 1 or session 2. We kind of seen few components of Power BI. Now what all that components are, if we can recall that, let me recall it. We have few components. One is Power View, one is Power Query, the other one is Power Pivot, Power Q&A, and we have Power Map. These are the basic components of Power BI. What we see, what we are trying to visualize here. Now we kind of seen a visual here. Rather than doing that, what I'll do, I'll get some other data. It will get you a better understanding. Yeah, let me get this. Now we have, once you get that data, this is a CSV file. So you can see here the name of the file. What is the name of the file? Sample superstore.csv. This is a kind of superstore file. And while getting this data, we are getting three options here. One is directly load this data. The second one is transform the data. Load, we have already seen it will be automatically loaded to the Power BI engine. Now the second option here is the transform data. And the third option which we get is cancel. Now cancel is simply canceling the view which we are seeing. If I load it, it will directly come here to the Power View. Now why is it called Power View? And if I click on transform data, it will go back to the Power Query window. Now let us try transform data. So it automatically opens in a new window. Now that window you can see here, this is the name of the Power BI file and it is opening in the Power Query editor. Now whatever data which you want to transform, now what is the exact meaning of transform is, we are kind of transforming the data. If you want to certainly make any changes to that specific data. Now, what all changes can be done? We have many options present here. In the ribbon bar of Power Query Editor, we get many options. Either you can remove columns, either you can keep rows or remove rows. You can use a group by. We have append and merge queries. If you navigate the tabs also, default we are in the home tab. If you navigate the tabs, the transform option, we get few more options. In add column option, we make it another few options. Now on which specific row you are, on which specific column you are, depending on that, few options might change. Now this is purely a transformation. This is purely a cleaning of data or managing of data can be done in the Power Query Editor. Now that all options are part and parcel of Power Query Editor, or you could say it's a simply Power Query. This is purely an ETL based tool. Now you can do all the ETL like transformations here. It is purely for transformation. Now, what do you mean by transformation? Either cleaning of data or managing your data. Cleaning as well as managing your data. Now, managing means in which specific way you want your data to be transformed, you want your data to be like. In that way, you can do whatever transformations we have, whatever options you have, that all processes can be done in the Power Query window. Now, if I make this changes, let me go back to the Home tab. We have an option called as Apply here. Now, irrespective of whatever changes you make, that changes would be applied. If I click on Apply, it will take some time. Yep, the changes are applied. And if I go back to the Power View, this is the Power View. Now, why is it called as Power View? Because whatever charts we are doing, whatever visualizations we are doing here, that can be viewed directly. That is why it is called as Power View. These are the two important components of any Power BI engine, of any Power BI you are working on. These are the two main components. Now, Power View is default, which we get default view, and we can make charts here. Whatever visualizations we have, all can be done in the Power View. And the second component, if you want to make any transformation, cleaning or managing of data, that can be done in Power Query. Now you'll have a question that what all these above or below these three components are. Now these three components are somewhere combined with these two important components. Now, maybe one after the other, we are going to see these three components. But for now, the two main components we have already seen. One is Power View, and where you can do all your visualizations, where you can get all your charts, all your cosmetic changes, all your makeup, that all can be done here in the Power View. And if you want to make any changes to the data present in the table, the data present in the data set, then you navigate to the Power Query editor. Now, there are two options. Once you get data, you can transform there, or else in the Home tab of the Power View, we have an option called as Transform Data here. If you simply click on this, you'll get three more options. Now, default is you should always go to the Transform Data. It will again navigate to the same page. If at all it is opened, it will navigate to the same page. If not, it will open a new window. Now, once we get a good idea of Power View, then we would touch base the Power Query editor. Why? Because this is somewhere complex. This is somewhere may not be that easy to understand. Why? Because we have many options present in the Power Query editor. Prior to that, we must get used to the Power View window. Why? Because drag and drop of visuals are kind of easier to understand. Now let me close this Power Query editor. Now while closing also, you'll get an option. If at all the data is not saved, you'll get an option. Why? Because we have already saved that data. That is why the window directly got cancelled. Now, whatever data we have loaded, we can see the data here, sample superstore. Prior to that, we have loaded few movies related data. Now, what I'll do is in the Power View, if I select a new page, if you simply click on the white space area towards visualization tab, there is another tab, format your page. Now, this is default visualization page. The second tab you get is format your page. Now, if I simply click on this, you'll get few more options here. One is page information. Now, what does this page information means? Either you can rename your page here also. If you want, you can rename your page. Whatever name you want, you can get that name. Now here, there are a few more options. Allow use of tooltip, allow Q&A. See, this Q&A is somewhere related to this Power Q&A. Now, once we touch base this Q&A, we will be going back to the use case of allow Q&A. Now, if I minimize it, the second option is the important option here. One is canvas setting. Now, what do you mean by canvas setting is, see, every time if you're working on any specific report, every time if you're working on any specific visualization or any specific dashboard, it is not, or it may be not right page which you're working on. Now, the right page is, this is default A4 format page. Now, how I mean, with the help of mouse, I can minimize it or else I can maximize it with the help of mouse and scroller. Now, that is one option. Towards leftmost or rightmost corner in the below, you have an option called as zoom in and zoom out. Now, either you can click on this to zoom in and zoom out. So if I get any specific visual here, let me take few visuals. See, I'm trying to take this visual. This is an area chart. Maybe I'll take one more pie chart. Automatically visuals are coming. Maybe I'll take some another visual. I'll take this table visual. See, with these four visuals, our page is almost, a completely fit page. Maybe you can add few more visuals, or you can compress few visuals, but it is not always that you would be working on four different visuals only. Now, in that case, if you want to increase the size of a specific page, simply click on the white space, not on any specific visual, click on the white space, go to the format your report page, enlarge this canvas option. You get few options here. One is 16 by 9. This is the default format where height is 720 pixel and width is 1280 pixel. For any of the laptop, for any of the desktop or any screens you have in your world, which you are using, the default height and width of that screen is, or the pixel format is 720 by 1280. Height of that screen is 720 pixel, or width of the screen is 1280 pixel. Now this is default format. Wherever you go, or whichever report you're using, or maybe whichever visualization tool you're using, even if you go with Tableau, even if you go with ClickView, even if you go with ClickSense, any specific visualization tool, default format is 720 by 1280. Now, if you want to change that format, you get a drop down here, 4:3. Now this is, see, if I do this, kind of zoom or kind of visuals are compressed here. So even if I zoom in, zoom out, these two visuals are somewhere gone out. I'll again go back to the report settings, format page. I'll try few more options. This is letter format, the standard letter format. This is tooltip format. Now, what do you mean by tooltip? It's a kind of visualization, or maybe it's a kind of thing. It's a kind of concept where if you complete, or where if you go back on, click on any specific visual, it will try to give you some insights. Now that is called as tooltip. Yeah, in detail we would be discussing when we reach out to this concept. But the last option we will try, which is custom option. Now, what do you mean by custom option? Means we have a flexibility to increase our height and width. Whereas for all other things, this was blacked out, the grayed out. This was not open. You cannot edit it. Now, if I go back to the custom, I have a flexibility. I can change height and width. Now, whatever height you want. Now, default it was 720. I'll make it to 1000. And width was around 1280. I'll make it to 1500. Let me do that. The complete size of the page has changed. Now, this is the importance of any specific report which you want to showcase it with multiple visuals. Now you can drag and drop few more visuals also, because we have an ample space here. Even if you're not satisfied with this, simply click on the white space, go to the report settings or format page. Again, you can increase your height, you can increase your width. If you're not satisfied with this 1500 pixel, you can increase it to 1800. The size of the page automatically changes. Now this is vertical alignment. Either you want it from the top alignment, because if I click on this top, see the above dotted line is missing. We have a dotted line here. Towards left, right, and below, the above dotted line is missing. Now if I click on middle, you'll get that dotted line above also. This is only for alignment, what you see. Now default, you can keep it to top also. You can compress it, you'll get that line. The most important thing is people tend to get confused. If you have a flexibility, you are working on any specific report, you're designing any specific report, you should always make sure that the page format is perfectly available. Now default, many people go with 16:9. It is always recommended, do not go with 16:9. Why? Because 16:9 is the pixel format, or you could say pixel perfect format for any device which you're using. This may not get all the visuals. You cannot compress multiple visuals here. You can do that. You can minimize the size. Now, if you minimize the size, the visuals will become more compact. In order to neglect that, always go with the custom option. You have a flexibility, increase your size, increase your height, increase your width. almost 90% of the reports in any specific format or any specific BI tool always go with this custom option. They'll increase their height, they'll increase their width, and they'll add all that visuals. Now, the standard approach is, prior working on any specific visual, we should always make sure that the page format is already completely available for us or not, because we are getting dragging and dropping the visuals. Once you drag and drop visuals, at certain instance, the visuals are not fitting in your page. You'll go back here, you'll make sure that the settings are changed. But prior to that only, prior to going to visual, always make sure whatever format you want, you should fit that format, height and width. Now, steps to remind working on any report. Now, should always remember these steps. The first and foremost thing is set your page or report width and height. Now, this is important thing. Now, second thing, will make a focus of it. I've already set my width and height. I've dragged and dropped few visuals here. Let me delete few visuals. Let me focus on only one specific visual. See, I have this visual. For now, without directly going to data, I have few more columns here in the sample superstore. What I will do is, now this is an area chart. In case of area chart, I'll simply go to the stacked column chart or maybe bar chart. I've selected the stacked column chart. In this case, I'll drag and drop few visuals. Now, in case of x-axis, what I'll do, I will get category in case of x-axis, and in case of y-axis, I'll get sales. Now you will have a question that why only sales, why only category? See, category is a string value, non-numeric value. We have three categories. One is technology, one is furniture, one is office supply. Now, prior working on any specific visual as recommended, you should always go back and see the data, what data you're loading. We will go to that, but for understanding purpose, I have directly dragged and dropped category. Somewhere in the last session, we have also recalled, in case of y-axis, it should be always a numerical value if you're using a column chart. Whereas if I'm using a bar chart, y-axis is a non-numerical value, which is a string value, whereas x-axis is a numerical value here. This is the only change in case of bar chart, because it goes from left to right, whereas column chart goes from top to bottom. Yeah, Julie, you have a question?
Yes, Ritesh, like in organizations, no, like they'll have a standard as to this is the size of a page, or
Hmm.
each company will have a certain uh, standard for their report, right?
Yep.
So, so is there like because I don't know if this is even possible. I'm just out of curiosity. I'm asking, is that will there be like a plugin where it's default coming, or like do we have to, as each individual, have to go and have that standard followed, or how it will work? Is there any like a standard which can be inbuilt, like a plugin?
Okay. Yeah, I got your question. Now, the question, I mean, what she's saying that um, if our organization requires a standard format, let us assume that you set your page, or maybe organization is expecting around 1200 into 1600. This is their standard format. Now she wants all the pages to be in this format. No, this is not possible. Now the why there is a lag or why there is a difference is, see, if I click on new page again, see page 3, this is going to page 3. If I go back here, default you'll get 16:9. Now this Power BI desktop is developed in such a way, or maybe any BI tool, any reporting tool is developed in such a way that you'll get the format which is default available is 16:9, which is a your standard laptop format. Your complete laptop, your complete desktop is fitted to this format, height and width. Your screen resolution is also of same format. Whereas if you want it to be changed, you have to always go back and manually change it. Now the question is it that every time you take a new page, you should always change your height and width? Yes. If at all you are not satisfied, I mean, every time you have to click on new page, you have to go to the custom tab, you have to change height and width. Even you are maybe feel it lazy, the best thing is always take a duplicate of it. If you're working on this specific page, you're working on this specific report page, if you right click on this, you'll get few options here: duplicate page, rename page, delete page, and hide page. Now, if I click on duplicate, see, it will create a duplicate of that page. Now, if I click on this, the format is 1000 by 1500, which we have taken for this specific page. Now, if you create a duplicate, it is always recommended, because all the visuals which you take here, that visuals, that that specific visual, that specific KPIs will come here. You have to delete that. Now, it is all manual effort. Yes, it's all the manual effort. You cannot take a custom format, or you cannot set a custom format that whenever I click on the new page, it should get these height and width. No, it is not possible. This is purely a manual effort. You should always go to custom, make sure the height and width is changed if you take a new page, or else you can take a duplicate copy of the page which you're working on.
Thank you. Got it.
Yep. Now I've dragged and dropped a few components here in x-axis and y-axis. Now see, either of them should be a numerical value. Even if I take, now sales is numerical value, I know it. Category is purely a categorical, or you could say a purely string value. Now what I'll do, there is a value called a segment. Even if I take segment here, see, it is taking count of segment. In y-axis, it is always taking count of segment. Now that is how a normal column chart behaves. If I change it to bar chart, category is y-axis, count of segment is x-axis, either of them should be a numerical value, then only information is correctly interpreted. Even if you take a string value, it is taking it as count of that string value. So this is how a normal graph works, or a normal graph behaves. You should always know that one is categorical value. Now this is called as categorical. Even if I take category, I'll take a region here. Region is east, west, central, and south. These are all string values. These are all categorical values. Whereas the x-axis, which I'm taking in case of bar chart, is a numerical value. Even though I have taken a string value or a categorical value, it is taking it as count of that string. Now, this is the normal behavior of any specific chart. If you recall your schooling days, you were working on x and y axis. You're working on your graphical representation. One is always a numerical value. One is always a string value. Year is also a date time. Maybe you can assume that year is also a string value. Now, if I take year, we have order date option here. Now, in case of region, I'll remove that region. I'll drag and drop order date. See what I've done? I've dragged and dropped order date. This 2019, 2018 looks like a numerical value, but it is not a numerical value. It is year. It is always a string value in case of date time. Year by count of segment. Or you can simply remove this. Every individual year by sales. On that specific year, what was the sales? Sum of sales. Sum of sales. So if I go back and hover on this, now hover means if you are dragging your cursor to that specific bar, it is giving you some insights. This is order date year 2019, and for 2019 the sales was 7,33,215. For 2018, 6,09,000. Now this, while you hover on this, whatever you're getting in black window is called as tooltip. Yeah, once we reach to some advanced stage, I'll also explain it in detail. But we had an option here. If I click on this white space in the page information, you had an option. See, this was default off. But once I drag and drop a visual, it is working. Now, if I off this, somewhere something allows use of tooltip, practice visual. Okay, this is working fine. There would be a slight change. This is default automatically kept on. We are not doing anything. If I take a new page also, see, if I go back here, click on the white space, page information, this is default kept as off. If I take a visual here, some or other visual, I'm taking column chart. I'll drag and drop few components from the sample superstore, maybe profit in y-axis. Why? Because this is numerical value. And I'll take state. There are multiple states. There are multiple states. That is the reason you're getting a scroller here. Now, once I get this, I'll go back here. This tooltip value would be somewhere automatically coming default. This is something weird, but this should always automatically get it on. Why? Because you are getting some visuals. Now, what tooltip is, I've shown you. If you hover on this, somewhere it is giving you insights. Now, this is called as kind of tooltip value. We'll reach out to this, but our understanding is one should be always numerical, one should be always a string value. Now, in this case, even order date, it looks like a numerical value, but this is always a string value. Why? Because we could get year, we can also get month, we can also get month. Now in case of order date, you have an option here. One is date hierarchy. In case of any date column, you will get all these options: year, quarter, month, and date, or that specific day. Now this is how a date column works. For now, understand only date column is also a string value. Now this visual is kind of very basic visual. Now basic means we do not have much of the information formatted. If you show this visual to the end user, he may not be satisfied. It is very difficult to understand. Now in that case, what we will do is I'll remove quarter, month, and day. I'll keep it as year only. See, if I click on this visual, just like if you click on the white space, you get this format your report page. If you simply click on this visual, you'll get few options here. See, we are in this tab. If I navigate to the format your visual, you'll get multiple options here. In case of y-axis, what should be the options? What all options are there? In case of x-axis, if you maximize every specific option, you'll get what all conditions are available here. Now this is continuous. You can change it to categorical. You can change it to continuous. Continuous means the year which is coming latest, it is reflected at the topmost position. Now, if I take it to categorical, from which specific year we have information that is coming first, and the current year or the latest year which is present, it is coming at the last. Now you have a flexibility. You should always see whether you want a continuous or whether you want a categorical option. Now that can be also changed from this way. If you click on visual, you get an option here. 3 dots are there. See, sort axis. On these 3 dots, if I scroll it down to sort axis, now sort means it is just like our sorting, your SQL concept, or maybe your normal any specific visual or any specific report, or in case of report, or you are using any specific website, you want to sort certain information. Now sorting means maybe you are going to any online booking website. Assume that you're going to the red bus, you're searching from which specific source and destination you want to go, and you will be sorting that information by lowest price to highest price. Now similarly, in case of any specific visual in Power BI, you get this sort option. I am sorting it by year, ascending. If I change it to descending, see the latest year. The latest means whichever year is the maximum, that will come first. This is descending. If I change it to ascending, 16 will come first. Now we have a flexibility. Either you can change it from y-axis or either you can change it from sort axis. Now this is for bar chart. If I go back to the visual pane again, I'm changing it to the column chart. Again, I'll go to the format your visual. See, this format your visual would be available if you click on that visual. If you are clicking on a white space, it will be for complete page. Whereas if I click on this visual, then only it would open these options. So do not get confused. Always click on a specific visual only. Now in x-axis, we have a flexibility to change few font size, whatever font you want. Now font means year is the x-axis. Now if I want to increase that format, see, I'm getting that increased format. 2016, 17, 18. This was not visible earlier. This was very compact. I have changed that font size. We have a flexibility to change whatever font you want. I want this font, the bold font. Either you can change it bold again here. Maybe you can change it to italic, or you can keep an underline. Whatever format you want, you can change it to that specific format. Now this is x-axis. We can change color also. If you're not satisfied with this black color, you can take any specific color. Now I'll come down to the title option. Even this year which is mentioned here, YEAR, this is very compact. I'll change this. I'll increase that format. See, now maybe I'll change it to the same format which we have. This is bold, and I'm not satisfied with this black color. Maybe I'll take some random color. I'll take orange itself. And one more thing, while getting any specific visual, see, I haven't done anything. If I'm taking this visual also, blue color, if I take any specific visual here, now this is also visual. First color which is coming, it has default blue color. Maybe this we have multiple shades to represent. That is why it is taking some orange, some dark blue, but default it is taking a blue shade. Now, the question is, in any reporting tool, if you're working on any reporting tool, even if it is Tableau, even if it is ClickView or maybe MicroStrategy, default you will get blue color. Why? Because blue color is more easy to understand. This is more easy to understand. If you take any specific visual, default color is blue. In case of Power BI, it is also same. It you will get default color as blue. Why? Because it is easier to understand. Even if you have a kind of color blindness, some people might experience this color blindness. They are not attractive to the some dark shades. In that case, blue is very easier to grasp. And most of the reports in Power BI, now this is kind of industry level information or industry level info. Most of the reports in Power BI are always developed in blue shade. Any specific shade, you can take any specific shade. Now it is always recommended that shade should be in. Now if I go back, this is second most important point. Color plays an important role. Color is important. Now why color is important? Because if you take any random color, see what I'll do in case of blue, I'll click on this visual. I'll go to format your page. See, on this columns option, there is a color page available. Now it depends on what type of visual you're using. For column chart, we have an option called as columns. Default, it is blue. I'll take some random color, black. Now this is very dark, maybe not black, but I'll take some other shade. This might look good for us, but if you're sharing this specific information in this format to the end user or stakeholder, maybe this is not that great. Why? Because I'll take a copy, I'll compress it. I'm taking a copy of it. I'll change it to the default blue color. See, even if you look at these visuals, simply look at these visuals. You'll always go towards right rather than going towards left. You'll always go towards right. Why? Because our eyes or our brain works in such a format that visual which is easily intuitive for our eyes, easily understandable. Blue is very easy to understandable. This is dark in shade. People will always go with this shade. That is why colors play an important role. Always make sure that colors are in light in shade. Not, I'm not saying that you should always go with blue, but it should be light in shade. Okay, if you want dark color, you can take your text format. You can take your fonts. Whatever fonts you have, you can take that in dark. Maybe the title, the x-axis and y-axis title, you can take that in dark, maybe in black. That is recommended, but it is not recommended to take the bars in dark shade. That is the standard format which we follow in industry. Always use light shades. Now I have not said that you should always use blue. Either you can use yellow shade, whatever shade you want. Now I'll click here, click on this specific visual, go to format, drag and drop the column. In case of default, I can change whatever shade you want. See this shade, okay, easy to understand. Maybe very much light, you can take it to some darker shade. Easy to understand. This is also light format. You can take either this format. Now, in case of pink, see if you get a requirement that you want to develop a dashboard and the company which you're working for, they have a pinkish shade in their logo. You can always go with this pink shade, but it is not recommended to take some pink related colors. Maybe you should always take yellow. You should always take blue, or in case of any blue or yellow shades. Now this is kind of combination of yellow and blue, brown shade. Now, if you take this pink shade, it will kind of, maybe it's a kind of messy here. Pinkish is not recommended. Maybe pink, even purple. Okay, purple looks kind of more easier or more intuitive rather than a pink shade. Even this violet and purple combination, even this looks good, but pinkish shade is not recommended every time. Now you have multiple shades option here. If you are not satisfied any of the shade, you can go to more colors. See, you can drag and drop this option. You can change whatever format you want. The shades are changing. Now, one approach here is, one is hex format color. The other one is RGB. Now, this is default format. Now, default means red, green, and blue. These are the standard colors. These are the primary colors. Even if you use your Microsoft Paint, there you'll get these three colors option, and you'll get a hex format. Now, what do you mean by these standard colors? This is 2.1 info. In case of color, you'll get two options. One is hex format, and the other format is RGB. The RGB means red, green, and blue. These are the default colors available in any specific the computer related aspects. If you're working on any specific computer related aspects, or maybe in real world with these three colors, you can format, you can get any specific shade. You can get any specific shade you want. See, I am taking red shade, this shade. So if I take purely dark red, it is taking 245 red, green and blue are 0. Now, if I want to change the shade, see, somewhere if you add some green and blue, the shade would be changed to lighter shade. If I again go back to the light red, green is 145, blue is 145. With these three colors, you can get whatever color or whatever shade you want. This is the standard format. Now, in case of few companies, they'll also give you hex format. Maybe they'll not give you RGB, but in case of some companies, they'll give you hex format, that this is the hex format which I want. Now, hex format always starts with hash. You can see here, it always starts with hash. Hash, there is an alphabet here, and then there are few numerical values. Now, if I scroll this window, or if I scroll this dotted option towards green shade, maybe I'll take some darker green shade. I'll get this. This is the format for our KSR. Now, KSR means if you visit our website, this is our website. Somewhere this above ribbon, you can see this is green in format. Now that format I'm trying to use. Maybe this is still darker in format. I'll make it more darker. This is what we have. Now there is a standard hex color format which we use. For our KSR website, there is a standard hex format. That is how a company gives you a standard hex format, that this is the format which I want, which we want our visuals to look alike, our report to look alike. You have to always go back and change your hex format, whatever standard format you have been given. Sometimes you'll get in RGB, but most of the times a company recommends hex format. Whatever RGB you have, that can be converted to hex, or whatever hex you have, that can be converted to RGB. Either you can do it here. If you're getting confused, we have a flexibility hex to RGB. So you'll get a converter here. Go to Google, simply type hex to RGB converter, whatever converter you will get here, you can mention that. So if I take this option here, whatever hex format I have, I'll copy this, I'll paste it here, convert. See, 5 172 152. Is it what we have? 5 172 152. This is common in all the, if you take to any specific computer related aspects, RGB and hex are interrelated to each other. What you get here, you can get it here. And this hex format plays an important role, because if you take this visual in blue color, this is blue color shade. I'll take a new page, go to new page. I'll paste that visual here. See what the change is. If I go to this practice option, the visual is small in format, very small. The same visual I've copied, Control C, I've gone here, I've pasted it here in the new page. It is looking in bigger. Maybe here it is compressed. It is looking in bigger. It should have been in the same format. No, I'm using only copy, Control C, and I'm pasting it here. Now the reason is, if I click on the white space, go to the format your page, go to canvas settings, the height and width of the page is 720 by 1280, whereas the height and width of the practice page is 1000 by 1500. That is the reason this is looking in more bigger format. Now, if I change it back to the custom 1000 and 1500, it will be in the same format which we have in the practice visuals page. Now I've taken this visual, I'll take Control C, I'll again use a copy of it. See, what I am doing is, I'll remove it, rather than I'll take a new visual. I'll take bar chart. In this bar chart, what I will do is, I'll drag few more columns. I'll drag profit in case of x-axis, and in case of y-axis, it should be subcategory. We have multiple subcategories, and what is the profit? Sum of profit I'm taking. See, I'm going back to the column chart here. I'll change the column format. I'll change the default color. Maybe I am not sure because this blue is looking more complex. I'll try to get some other color. I'll take this blue, or maybe I'll take some other blue, this blue. See, this both colors might look similar for us. These both colors might look similar for us. Both are blue, but this is light in shade. Now, for many of you, you have to either zoom it to understand this color is not matching with this. You have to make sure both the colors are of same format. Even though you are getting blue and blue, it is very difficult to understand. Now that is the reason they have come up with this hex format. You should always go to the format your visual, go to columns, click on more colors, whatever format you are up to. This is the hex format. I'll copy this. I'll go to this visual. I'll click on this visual. See, both are blue. Very difficult to understand that there is a slight shade. I'll get that color here. Now both are of same format. Usefulness of hex. It is always recommended to be, if you're working on any specific report, make sure with the visual itself, you're changing the color. If you drag and drop your visual, you completely develop your report. At the end, it is very difficult to change every individual color. Why? Because you have to click on every individual visual, and it would be simply waste of time. In order to save time, you should always start with your setting your page. Once you get the visual, you should always start with your color formatting. Color plays an important role. Now, once color formatting is done, you should always do your formatting of your visual. Formatting of visuals. Now, how do we format is, see, I've already gone through x-axis. I've increased the font format. I'll go to y-axis again. I'm in this visual. I'll go to y-axis. I'm not satisfied with these values. 0.8 M. What do you mean by 8 M? If I hover on this, I'm getting 4,84,000. But if I go to the y-axis, if I'm trying to see this y-axis, it is very difficult to understand what do you mean by M. M means millions. Now I'm not satisfied with this. I'll go to the values option. See, in the values option, you get few options here. You can increase the font. Yes, I can increase the font. Font is increased. I want it to be in bold format. I've changed it to bold. I'm not satisfied with this color. I want the same orange color. Now here the question comes. If I go to more, see, I'm taking orange, but both the orange colors are of different format. Now in that case, the usefulness of hex comes into picture. I'll again go back here. I'll get the x-axis format color, which is orange. I'll copy this, scroll it down to y-axis, go to color option, more options. I'll paste it here. Both are of same color. Now I'll change it to bold again. This is looking bold. I'm not satisfied with millions. What I will do is, you have an option called as display units. Now this option is available in case you have a numerical value. Here it is available in y-axis. If I go to bar chart, in x-axis, you will get that option. In y-axis, you will not get it. Why? Because y-axis is a string value in case of bar chart. In case of column chart, y-axis is a numerical value. That is why I'm able to get this display units. Now, what do you mean by display units? You have a flexibility. You can change it to none. None means your standard format which you want. This is auto. Automatically it is taking millions. This is none. I want to change it to thousands. You can change it to thousands, millions, even in billions, trillions. Now this trillion is a latest update. Almost 1 year back, we didn't had this option. Only up to billions you could get. But with the introduction of, or with the updates of Power BI, they have added an option called as trillions. Now, even billions, trillions, even millions is not suitable. What I'll do, I'll go back to the thousand. Okay, thousand is somewhere easier to understand because it is starting from zero and 200K, 400K. If you're not satisfied with this thousands, go to none. It is simply default format which you want. 2 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 6 lakhs, 8 lakhs. Now you have a flexibility. You can add a decimal to it. See, I'm adding a decimal. It was kept as auto, which is 0. Y-axis, go to values. If I add a decimal here, it is adding a decimal here. More the decimals you want, you can add n number of decimals. Adding of decimals. Now you want to change the title, this sum of sales. Title means the sum of sales. It is very small in size. I'll go back. I'll get the same bold format. Sum of sales has changed. I want the same color. See, you will get a default option here. This is the same color. I want to increase the format. This is how it should look. Now we have made changes in x-axis and in y-axis. I'll minimize the options. Now there are few options here. What do you mean by this range option? See, you can automatically set a range. The Power BI is smart enough, depending on whatever the highest sum of sales we have, whatever numerical value you have, it is automatically taking 8 lakhs as the highest amount. It is not going beyond 8, but you are not satisfied. The client is not satisfied with it. The client wants it to be starting with from 20 and it should be ending with 10 lakhs. That means it should be starting with 20 lakhs, sorry, 2 lakhs, and it should be ending with 8 lakhs. In that case, you can go to the range. You can select whatever range you want. See, it is starting from 1 lakh. It is not starting from 0. You can set that range. Whatever range you want. I want it to be 10 lakhs. And it is starting from 1 lakh. Now you have a flexibility, whatever you want. Is it 10 lakh, 1000? It's 10 lakh here. See. You can change the minimum and maximum format or range which you want. Default Power BI is smart enough to take, but if in case you're not satisfied with that, you can change minimum and maximum range. In case of bar chart, you'll get this in x-axis. You can change the range here. Now I'll go back to the same column chart. We are done with x and y axis. I'll go to the grid lines option. Now, sometimes people tend to get confused. There is a small dotted lines available. Now, how do I check it? If I click on the visual, you will get an option called as focus mode. Same like your 3 dots where you will get the sort axis option. I will get an option called as focus mode. If I click on that focus mode, it opens in the focus mode. Focus means a zoom mode. Sum of sales by individual year. This is what the chart is representing. Now, if I click here, you will get some dotted lines. There are very slight dotted lines. Maybe this is not visible. If you want it to be visible, I'll simply go to this grid lines option. I'll increase the width. See, I'm increasing width. I've increased width. Now dotted lines are clearly visible. Now color is very light. If I change it to black, see, these grid lines are visible. Now this is like a normal graph. If you want these lines to be visible, you can get these lines. You have options. You have dashed lines, you have dotted lines, and you have solid lines. whatever line you want. Now for the complete solid line, the width is not much. Here this width is fine, because width with 4 pixel is it's very complex. Now, complex in the sense not that great. I'll reduce the width. This is kind of easier. Now this is recommended if you are working on any specific project. If at all a client is requested to have a grid lines in the background, then only you should keep it on. If you're not, I mean, there isn't any requirement, you can simply click on off. You'll get an option here, button here, simply click on off. Now I'll keep it to the default. I'll keep it on. I'll get it to the dotted lines. Pixel should be second, the 2 pixel. Now after grid lines, few of the options are grayed out. Now we are yet to reach what do you mean by legend. We are yet to reach what do you mean by small multiples. These options are available here also. For this column chart, you have a legend option, you have small multiples option, you have a tooltip option. Now you can get any specific column here, but prior to that, we need to first understand what do you mean by legend. Now let me go back to the format your visual. See, in case of I want to change the colors, I'm not satisfied with same color for all the charts for all the years. I'm not satisfied with the same blue color. I want multiple colors for every year. I'm going to the columns option. I'm clicking on show all on. See, for every year, whatever color you want, you can set that color. For 2016, I want blue. For 2017, see, it is always recommended to use a same shade, light in shade and same shade. If you're working on any project, do not take any random yellow color here for 2017. Very difficult, maybe not that great. Now what I suggest is click here, take some bluish shade only, but slightly different. Now I would have taken this 2017. This looks great. For 2018, I'll take some more darker shade. For 2019, I'll take some more darker shade. Maybe this one. This is easier. But it is always said, I have said the dark colors are not recommended. Now in that case, what we will do is, if I click on 2016, somewhere we were here. Now I'll copy the same hex format. I'll paste in 2017, same shade. I want it to be slightly darker. I'll make it slightly darker. This looks good. I'll again go back to 2018. I'll click on more colors. I'll paste the same shade here. It should be slightly darker than 16, 17. This looks great. Now I'll again go back to 2019. I'll paste the same hex format. This should be darker than all three. This looks good. Now this is how it should do. It should be done. The shades of any specific report or any specific visual. It is not recommended to always go with some green color, some yellow color. Okay, if you are exhausted with multiple options, if there are 10 years, you cannot take 10 different blue shades. Now you have a flexibility, you can take that shades, but 10 different columns means you have to make sure that it is always starting with very light shade. In that case, you can take some different colors, but here we only have 4 columns. You can take same blue color with different shades. Now I've taken this. If I go back to the report, I'm in the focus mode. I'm going back to the normal mode. So it is very easier to understand. Now, once this is done, you have few more options. One is zoom slider, data labels. See, it is very difficult. If I hover on this, then only with a tooltip value, I'm able to guess what is the 2016 year sales. It is somewhere between 4 lakh to 6 lakhs, but the exact amount I'm getting it from 4 lakh 84,000 if I hover on this. Now, I don't want this. I want it to be visible here itself. What is the exact sales for 2016? Now, in that case, I'll go back to the data labels option in the format visual. I'll keep it on. See, once I keep it on, the data labels for every column is available. Now you have a flexibility. Either you want it to be in default format, you want it to be in thousands format, or you want it to be in millions format. Whatever format you can take that. Now you have a flexibility also that this is default. That is, it is starting from 2 lakhs. It is not in millions. It is not in thousands, but you want the data labels to be in thousands. You can take that in thousands, or maybe none. Now this is 4,84,247.4987. I don't want this decimals. What I'll do, I'll keep it to, this is in auto, I'll keep it to 0, simply 0. It is rounding up the decimal number. If I take it to decimal, this is what I'm getting. More the decimals you want, you can get all the decimals. And in case of Power BI, one industry format you have to follow. If you're taking decimals, take it up to 2 places, point 2 places. Maybe if an organization is requesting you to get it to up to 4 places, okay, maximum of 4. But even if you take 4, it is very difficult to understand. Why? Because there is a dot. There is a slight dot for decimal. There you need to get a dot. That dot is not visible. That is why only recommended is take 2 decimals. Now you're not satisfied with this data label. This should be in bold. You can change it to bold. Increase the format, increase the format. Now you want it to be the same orange format. See, this orange format is coming here. Maybe I'll go back above. I'll take that exact orange format which I had. More colors. I'll copy this hex code. I'll come down to the data labels option. Go to the color format. Now you'll get that orange here. Now this is done. This is for data labels. And how do you want this data labels to be look like? It is in horizontal format. You want it to be vertical. You'll get it vertical. Now in the data labels, all format is defaultly coming. For few of them, you will get some on and off button. Now for this is default all. Why? Because we are only taking one column. Um, Let me scroll down what all options we have. Okay, we have a background. You can add a background to it. So if I click on this background, a background is added to it. Maybe I'll change it to horizontal itself. This is easier to understand. Now background is in black color, but if I'm using a transparency, if I make it to this, this is black. Transparency means it will go on adding a lighter shade to it. I'll make it 100%, no color would be added. I'll make it 86 or 90%. This is good. Now you have a flexibility, you can change it manually, 90%. Now this is for data labels. I'll minimize these options. Now in visuals, in format, you are in the visual tab. If you go to this general tab, you get few more options. What do you mean by general tab? Means you can increase the width of the page, just like you can increase the width, you can increase the width of a visual. You can go to properties, height and width. Either you can do it manually. See, if I'm doing manually, this is automatically changing. Whatever I'm doing, the height and width is automatically changing. Now this is, if there isn't any standard approach given to us, you can directly use a drag and drop. But there are certain organizations, they also give what should be the height and what should be the width of a visual. In that case, you should always go to the format your visual. You will be in visual tab. You should go to the general tab, maximize the properties option. Now there is a company that, or there is a client that they have given a standard format that height should be always 700 for a column chart and width should be always 800 for a column chart. Now, if you see here, column chart cannot go beyond 800. Value must be less than equal to 750. Why is it so? Maybe if I make it 600 and I can increase it to 750, 750. But if I want it to be 800, see why is it not coming means it depends on the page format which you're using. Our page doesn't support more than 850 for a specific column chart. That is the reason if I go to general tab, it is not going beyond 750. Now it depends on what type of page you're using, what is the maximum width and height of that page. Every individual visual is somewhere dependent on the page information also. Now it is not going beyond 750. I've maximum width is I've kept it to 750. Now this is somewhere a company also suggests that it should not be more than 600. It should not be more than 750. There are organizations who will also give you size of a particular visual. You have to follow that standard format. In this properties tab, I've seen. Now here in this title option, see this sum of sales by year is coming under title. I want this title to be in the middle of a visual. If you want that, you have an option called as horizontal alignment. If you click on the center, it will come in the center. Now I'm not satisfied with the font. I'll go back. I'll use a bold format. I'll use a text color of orange. See, I also want a background color. This is very white. I don't want. I want a background color for the title of this visual. I'll add a background color. Maybe I'll use a blue. Blue is not looking that great. Maybe I'll use some other color which is compatible with. This is looks great. A gray color format I've used. So you have a flexibility to change format, the font of that, the um, format of font which you want, the size of that font. You have a flexibility to change whatever heading you want. Heading 5, heading 6. This is very difficult to understand what type of heading is it. Heading 3, heading 4. Now here we are not getting any much difference. I want this as sales by year. You can change that specific title also. Sales by year. So within 10 or 15 minutes, what this visual was, this is what this visual was. We have changed it to this condition. Importance of formatting in any specific reporting tool. Now this is only specific to visual level. For a page level also, formatting plays an important role. You have to format the complete page, then only get the visuals. Now we have seen formatting of a page, but that too with specifically the height and width. Apart from height and width, if you click on the white space, that means a page, you have multiple options here. Canvas background. You want to add a background to this page? Yes, you can add a background. You can browse any specific image which is stored in your local system, and you can add that image to the background. You can add a wallpaper to the background. Maybe you can add a color. I'll add grayish color. This is going with the, I'll add this color. You can add this color. Now the question is, if I take a new page, why am I not getting this color option? Say it only works for that specific page. You cannot hard code it. If you take a new page, again, you have to take that format, that wallpaper. Either you can do a color, either you can browse an image. Any of this, you can add this image. I want this Amazon image to be added in the background. See, an image would be added. Where is it? Let me check. Canvas background, wallpaper. Transparency is there. This is how an image looks. So you have to see few more options here. Earlier image was not available in the normal format. Whereas if I click on fit to format, the image is getting here, but not the color. I want both image as well as color. Either you can go to this, use the color option as well as image option. Image is in wallpaper and canvas background is in color format. Formatting of a complete page. Canvas background, wallpaper. Now this filter pane, this is slightly different. This is more specifically related to this filter pane. Filter cards, filter pane is more specifically related to this filter option. See, if I am increasing this filter pane is changing. Now how you want this input box to be? I'm changing this color. Filter pane is not that important. By if it is in white in color also, that is also fine. I'll make it to default. I'll close this filter pane. Now we have seen formatting of a page. We have also seen formatting of a visual. Now this is only specific to one visual, that is column chart. Now if I go back to the focus mode, this is how a visual look like. In case of focus mode, yeah, that flexibility of getting the header, that means a title, whatever title you have given, that title is missing here. The colors of our columns are going with that the same format which we have used, but the title is missing. Why? Because in focus mode, it always gives you title sales by year is coming, but not in that format. Because in focus mode, it always focuses on what type of information you want it to be in detail, not the title. We are not looking on the title. We are looking on the individual columns. Now, importance of formatting, we have seen formatting of visuals. Now, this should be done while working on any specific visual only. See, the thing is, you have got a requirement that there should be 6 visuals in a report. Now, they have given you 6 visuals also. What type of visuals you want? Assume that they want a column chart. They also want a bar chart. They want a pie chart. They want a slicer. They want a area chart. And they also want line chart. This is what the requirement is. You have started with the requirement. You have created all these charts. At the end, you came to know that the charts are of not standard format. Standard means height and width. Also, they have given. They have also given a color format. At the end, you develop a report, and at the end, you come to know that you are not following a standard. Again, you have to do the rework. You have to go to every visual. You have to make sure that visual is of standard format. You're changing the background color. Now it is somewhere a rework, complete rework, waste of time. In that case, if you're working on any specific visual or any specific report, it is always recommended get your standard format. If they are not giving you standard format, well and good, go with the standard colors which they are sharing with you. Not every organization will give you standard format of a visual. They'll give you standard format of a page. They'll give you standard color format. In that case, make sure if you're working on column charts, here itself you're changing the color, here itself you're changing the height and width of a page, and then you're moving to the some other charts or some other visuals. For every visual, do the formatting there itself. It will take time there, but rework is not recommended. Rework is simply waste of time. Now we have seen formatting of a visuals, formatting of a page, formatting of column chart. You want this to be in bar chart also. The same format, I want this to be in bar chart. What I will do is I'll click on this column chart. Similar like format painter, which you get in Paint, you get an option here in the home tab. You have a format painter. I'll click on this format painter. First, you have to click on what type of visual you want. This is the visual. This is the standard format. I've clicked on format painter. I want the other visual to be in this format. I'll click here. See, it automatically changes. Your manual work has been replaced with automation. I'm not formatting this complete page. The only change I've done is I've only formatted one visual. I've taken a different visual and I've used a format painter. Time saving. Subcategory, sum of profit. I'm not satisfied with these conditions. Go back to the y-axis. What in y-axis? Title. What is the title? Title text is kept as auto. Auto means subcategory. I want this sub. I don't want dash category. And in case of x-axis, no, this is for x-axis. In case of y-axis, I'll go to title. I am not satisfied with sum of profit. It should be total profits. Total profits. Now you'll have a question that for copiers, it is giving you positive, whereas for tables, it is going minus 17,725. This is profit. Profit can be negative. Sales can be negative. For tables, profit is going in minus. That means there is a loss. Minus profit means this is loss. For all others, till fasteners, it is 950 profit, whereas for supplies, bookcases, and tables, it is coming it as negative. Why? Because there is a loss. That is why it is coming towards left, minus of information. Now you want this specific visual to be the same size of the visual of a column chart. Simply get this visual here, make it of same size. Make sure that the visuals are perfectly fitted. Yeah, both are fit together. Now, very difficult to understand that there is a difference between both the visuals. Now you can click on a specific visual, go to format. See, in the format, go to general. In the general tab, we have seen properties, we have seen title. Below, there is an option called as effect. In case of effect, I want these two visuals to be separated by a column here, maybe by a dotted line. In that case, I'll go back to the visual border. I'll keep it on. Now, if I keep it on, see, this visual is separated. Again, I'll go back to the bar chart. I'll go to the format. I'll go to general. In the effects tab, I'll keep the visual border on. See, here it is easier to understand that the both visuals are different. Both are different visuals. Now, if you want some more option, you have a flexibility. Go to format your visual, go to general tab, go to effects. You can add a shadow to it. Yes, you can always add a shadow. There is a shadow coming in the background. Now you want a background to it also. You want a specific background to it. You can add a background. See, whatever page background it was, it is taking that background color. If you make it to 0, it will commit as white. Now I'll make this shadow also here. See, whatever shadow you are taking, if you have 4 visuals, every time you have to click on that visual, go to general tab, add a shadow. In that case, click on a visual, go to format painter, do that formatting here. Shadow will automatically come here. But format painter, you have to make sure you are utilizing it for the wise purpose. For some of the visuals, format painter may not work properly. So you have to make sure you are using it wisely. For these visuals, it is working fine. Why? Because both the informations, only bar chart and only column chart, that is the only change. Maybe for pie chart, we get multiple colors. So color format would be automatically changed if you're using a format painter. So make sure you're using it wisely. If you're getting confused, go on a specific visual individually and make sure the changes are done. So within 10-15 minutes, we have changed both the visuals. We have added a background. This looks like more a reporting perspective or a pixel perfect report. You can add few more visuals which you want. You can get that visual also. Zoom it out. There is a very light space available. You can get any specific visual which is suitable here and get the information to that visual. Now we are yet to reach what visual should be used where, but only formatting is an important concept while prior reaching any specific visual. We need to first understand what visual is used where, but prior to that, formatting plays an important role. Formatting of visuals. Here I'll mention color. I'll mention size of that visual, and I'll also mention format of that visual. That means your scripts or wording format. I'll keep it as wording. Now this is done. The fourth important point is what visual should be used where. Now this is most important. Which visual is fit for which specific condition. Now prior to this, whatever we see, this is called as Power View. You want to change that, go back to the transform editor. This is Power Query. Now here we have seen these 2 or 3 steps. Once these 3 steps are done, we have to first make sure you understand the data, because if you understand the data, then only you can decide what visual should be used where. Unless you understand the data, it is very difficult that we need to go with bar chart, we need to go with column chart, or we need to go with pie chart, or we need to go with donut chart. Whatever chart you want, you need to first understand the data. Now, how do we understand the data? You have a flexibility report view. Either you can go to data view. See, you can go to the data view, click on any specific data set you want to make sure that you want to understand the data. Minimize this data tab. You have a scroller here. Whatever options, whatever columns are there, you can go and understand each and every column. Now this is for sample Superstore. In Superstore, we have multiple columns. First, we have to start with the column 1, which is row ID. Okay, what do you mean by row ID? If I click on this drop down, see, none of the IDs repeated. None of the IDs repeated here. See, if I randomly check any ID 6, let us click on 6. There is only one condition for 6. I'm trying to verify if there is only one condition or not. I'm clicking on 12, only one condition. That means row ID is a unique condition. It is randomly kept ID. It is a unique condition. I'll keep it to default, select all. It is a unique ID. There are 9,994 rows. And you have an option called as distinct values. That means all the values are unique values. How do you understand? Either you can check here manually, or else you have an option called as distinct values. If I click on that column, see if I change the column to order ID, there are only 5,000 distinct values. In case of order ID, only 5,000 distinct. Now, if I go back to the customer ID, 793 distinct values only. Whereas for row ID, every row is a unique condition. That is why 9,994 unique IDs are there. Okay, this is unique ID. I'll go to the order ID, 5,000 unique IDs. Okay, now what does this sample superstore mean? We have to first understand this data set. Then only you can make sure that what type of visual is the best fit. Now I'll only take 10 more minutes. In case of order ID, I'm clicking on order ID. We are getting some order IDs here. CA 2017 121188. Now, how do you understand what do you mean by CA? We have to make sure first we have to get some other columns, then only we'll get an idea. What do you mean by CA? I'll go to the order date. Okay. The sample superstore means something related to ordering of information. Some information or some product is ordered. For that, what is the order date? What is the shipment date they have mentioned? Now, order date and shipment date, there is a change. Why? Because order date come first. On that specific day you have ordered. Maybe after a few days, that product would be shipped. Shipment date should be always greater than order date. Now that you have to make sure with the help of basic understanding. Assume that this is specifically related to a specific your online website, maybe Myntra. You're trying to order a product from Myntra. In case of Myntra, you're placing an order. Once you place order today, once that order is packed, it would be shipped anything after today. That means maybe even if it is shipped today, evening it would be shipped. So the order date should be always prior and shipment date should be always after order date. Maybe even if it is in case of time, you have ordered today at 9:30 in the morning, the same order would be shipped at 9:30 in the evening. So shipment date is always greater than the order date. It is always after the order date. Now shipment mode. If I click this, what all shipment modes are available? I'll go to this option, first class, same day, second class, and standard class. Now it is just like our Prime. If you are a Prime customer, 1-day delivery, same day delivery. If you're not a Prime customer, second day delivery, or sometimes a product might get delayed, that is standard delivery. The date might get changed depending on the flexibility of available product or which reason you have ordered that product. Maybe it will take some time. If you're ordering a product from any metro city, it will take 1 or 2 days to deliver. Now, in that case, if you're ordering it from a local village, that means a rural place, it will take 4 days. Now, that is how a standard class works. It depends from where you're ordering. So why am I going to each and every column is we need to first understand the data set. Then only you need to move to what type of visual we need to use. Now I'll go back to the customer ID. See, if I click on customer ID, ideally every customer should be unique customer. Out of 9,994, ideally every customer should be unique customer, but I'm only getting 793 unique values. Now, why is it so? Because a same customer can purchase multiple products. Now, if same customer is purchasing multiple products, now what I will do is I'll go to customer name. I'll maximize this option. I'll get this drop down. I'll uncheck all the options. What I'll do, I'll check some random customer name. Let us see if he has purchased multiple products or not. I click on his name. See, the same person have purchased multiple products. That is the reason his customer ID is repeated. Maybe shipment mode is different because on what product he has purchased and where he's ordering. Depending on that, shipment mode will differ. Order ID will also differ. See, order ID is also differing. What type of product he's ordering. See, order ID can also be repeated. 905, 587. Why? Because in one order, he has purchased multiple products. Within this one order, he has purchased multiple products. But row ID is unique. Why? Because every row is calculated as a distinct value here. Now I'll uncheck this, select all. Customer ID. That is the reason of same person can purchase multiple products. That is the reason there are only 793 unique customer IDs. We have seen customer name. If you click on segment, what type of segment is that customer belongs to? Is he customer of a consumer segment? Is he a corporate segment, or is he from a home office? Now this is more specifically related to this sample superstore is more specifically related to uh, a corporate office or a corporate person who is trying to purchase a product, whether he belongs to a home office, if he's working from an office that is corporate office, or whether he's working from a client office or a consumer office. You can assume these three entities, these three segments to be, this is consumer means client office, corporate means his own corporate office, and home office means work from home office. Region, which region he belongs to. Now this is only for United States. Okay. Now in United States, there are multiple cities. You can get all that cities information. State, what type of state is he? Now if I scroll it towards left, I'm scrolling towards left, order ID. See, for CA, it is California. This is also California. Is it somewhere related to state? I'm trying to match. Okay. What I will do, rather I'll use a filter. I'll use a California filter. I'll click on OK. I'm using CA, but there are few order IDs which is coming with US, U and S. Maybe not related to CA. I'll uncheck this, select all. Let us see few more columns, then we'll get an idea what is this order ID trying to convey. Postal code, which region from US that specific state is from, or that specific city is from. Product ID. See, product ID is somewhere related to the category, the next available column. Office supplies, OFF. For if I scroll it down, maybe I'll take some furniture. See, for furniture, it is FUR. Furniture category starts with FUR. That is the product ID. Product ID is a combination of category as well as it is a combination of subcategory. This is category, this is subcategory, and this is the ID of that subcategory or product which is trying to purchase. Now, this is how a product ID is generated. Now, I'm trying to guess what is this order ID? How is it generated? Let me uncheck this, select all. Product ID, combination of category, subcategory, and individual product name. How many columns are there? Okay, after product name, we also have sales, quantity, discount, and profit. So these four columns will play an important role for this data set because these are all numerical values. If you only get categorical values, what is the use case? You have to get a numerical value to interpret it in terms of visuals. These four values play an important role. What is the sales? What is the profit? What discount they have given? And how many quantities of product they have sold? This will give you the complete revenue statistics of this sample superstore. Now we have to understand the data. We have understood what the product ID means. I'm trying to guess what is this order ID. Order ID is probably this middle is year, on which specific year the order was placed. I'm trying to guess, this is unique IDs, 121188. These are all unique IDs. Now I'm trying to guess what do you mean by CA. What I will do is, let me scroll it down. We only have CA and we only have US, it seems. Cancel it. Maybe I'll take a different state. I'll take New Jersey. Click on OK. See, this order ID is nowhere related to the state also. I thought maybe CA means California. 2018 means on which specific date they have placed. Date means on which specific year this order was placed. Okay. But CA and US, it's a combined product. There is, I mean, nothing related to order ID from this specific column, state column. Nothing is related there. I believe it's a country name. Okay. Country name means, is there a country with CA? We only have US. What do you mean by CA?
It is Canada.
Okay. Let us see. See, I'm only getting US. I'm not getting Canada. I'm not getting Canada. I'm only getting US. Let us try. Do we have Canada? Nothing related to Canada is there. Accepted that CA belongs to Canada somewhere, you can give a hint, but I'm not getting anything related to Canada in this data set. Sometimes, yeah, let us see if at all it is not available. How would you verify it? Go to the report view, click on a new page, drag and drop some information. Now there is a visual called as table visual. I'll get this table visual. What I will do in this table visual, I'll get country column here, country and region. Say I'm only getting United States. Nothing related to Canada is there. Verification of data. Either you can do it in data view also. In data view, you can get all the columns. So this order ID is somewhere unique. It is not related to CA or US. It is purely a random value they have taken. Okay, this is belongs to here and this is the order ID they have given. Now we have understood how a data looks like, what all numerical values we have. Then you can go to the report view. Now you can see and you can figure it out what information you want to interpret in which type of visual. Now for this, we would be connecting back tomorrow. What type of visual is best fit for what type of information. Now, once this is done, what visual should be used prior to this, after formatting, or maybe before formatting only, I'll make sure there is a step called as understand your data. Understand your data. Check each and every individual column. This is much important. Okay, accepted that there are hundreds of columns. It is not recommended to go back and check all 100 columns. Maybe if you go to data view, you'll only have a look of all the columns, what all columns tries to convey. If you simply scroll it, you will get some understanding that this is what the information we have. How can we showcase it in report? See, you will not always get a requirement from client that this is the visual I want. What client states is he'll only give you data. He'll give you data. Some organizations or some clients also recommend what type of visual should be used. Yes, some might give, some may not give you what is the best visual. They only know that Power BI works best here. They'll only give you data. You have to make sure that what type of visual is best fit. 90% of the time, client gives you this type of information. He'll only give you data. He'll ask you that this is how the color should look like in the background. You can use few of our logos in the background, and the page format, maybe sometimes he'll give you page format, but most of the times he'll only give you data and he will ask you to do visuals yourself. I want the best visuals. Make yourself visible that which visual is best fit for what type of data. In that case, we have to always understand the data first. Now for today, we have seen formatting. For today, we have seen understanding of data, how a formatting plays an important role, what all options are there in page level formatting, and what all options are there in visual level formatting. Any questions on the concept which we have covered today? This might look boring. Yes, this is boring, but this plays an important role. This is somewhere related to your rework. See, if you're not getting used to your data, if you're not getting used to your standard format, if you simply drag and drop visuals, that is also fine, but it will create a rework. Why? Because client will reach out to you for each and every change. So rather than client reaching out to us for each and every change every time, if you give him all the details in a perfect format, most of the work is, or most of the time is saved here, and you'll get a good positive feedback from the client.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Pallavi, go ahead.
I have a question from the second lecture.
Hmm.
Actually, you loaded the data in movie actor, right? Excel sheet.
Hmm. Hmm.
There is again you loaded the data movies from the same Excel sheet.
Hmm.
Yes. I tried in my computer.
Hmm.
I have a automobile data Excel sheet. So
Okay.
how how can we get the data only for movies column or only for movies data? I didn't get that.
Okay. So the thing is, I'll open that. Just a moment. I'm opening that movies data set. See, in this movies data set, there are multiple sheets. So is it that in your own automobile sheet which you're using, is it that there are multiple sheets available, or all everything clubbed together in one single sheet?
No, yes. There is only thing one sheet, and
Okay.
every information
Uh,
is only in one sheet.
okay. So that is the reason you are unable to get it. Even in the same sheet, you can do that with the help of Power Query Editor. If you want only specific columns, you can load that sheet. You're not interested to get all other columns. Go to Power Query Editor.
Hmm?
Now you will. We are yet to touch this. Yes, we will touch base. See if you have loaded this sheet, the sample superstore. I'm not. Uh, I don't want this ship mode column. You have a flexibility in the home tab. This is the remove column option. If I simply click on this column would be removed. Shipment mode. This column is automatically removed. If you
Okay.
uncheck this, that option would be available. Now, this is purely a simple Power Query editor. We will discuss it in detail. But first, we have to understand visualization. Then only you should go back to the Power Query editor.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Now, for me, it is available in different sheets. That is the reason I have loaded it separately. If you get everything in one sheet, go to Power Query editor, whatever columns you don't want, you can remove that columns.
Okay, sir.
Cleaning of data, yeah, we will be reaching out to that. But prior to that, first understand. Now, this sample superstore is a cleaned data. That is why I've directly taken a cleaned data. Not every time you'll get this data in a clean format. Yes, for understanding purpose, I have taken this in a clean format. We need to first understand these concepts, what visuals should be used. Yeah, after that, we would be reaching out to Power Query Editor concept also.
Got it, sir.
Yeah, any more questions? See, we are teaching it at the very basic level. The folks who know basics of Power BI might get bored. No, this is not boring. I am trying to cover each and every aspect. See, these three components play an important role. People tend to forget they are a data analyst. What they do is they'll drag and drop visuals, they'll create a report. That messy report is shared with the client is not satisfied because he only thinks that a report is a right approach if you're giving him a messy report. If you give a report like this, if you give a report like this where the visuals are not perfectly formatted, damn sure you would be fired out. So important thing is, even if you give the report in this format, you have added a color code, but the other formatting is not done. But if you give report in this format, it is very easier. You have added everything in detail. Now this title is not right. Sum of profit by some category. This might look very large in, I'll use it, profits by subcategory. If you give it in this format, half of your work is done. Rework is not required. Client is also satisfied. He'll give you a positive feedback. It is not recommended to drag and drop visuals and share it with the client. You should always make sure formatting is an important concept in any reporting. I'm not saying only in Power BI. Check any reporting tool. Formatting plays an important role. Now, I have seen people, if there is a project of 5, and this is still followed, if there are 5 members in a team, if there are 5 members, 4 of them would be purely working on reports, and one person is still assigned for formatting. Why? Because for a data analyst, people tend to forget. One person always works on formatting. People always forget formatting. They'll only work on dragging and dropping of visuals. No, that is not recommended. Formatting is always recommended. If you want to neglect a person role. If you are joining as a fresher, you will be given this one person role, that means formatting of a report. Okay, if you are getting even a formatting of a report, learn that report. I've still seen, now this is standard format which any organization follows, but if you're working in any product based company, they'll not keep a person for formatting. They'll always focus on the same person who is working on report should always know what formatting look alike. So neglect this role. Maybe in future you should always skip this role and you should be in this role. And in this role, the same person should do the formatting. You yourself are doing a formatting. Yes, it will save your time, it will save your client's time, and it will save the costing also. You will get a good appreciation. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay, so let's connect back tomorrow at same time, 8 a.m. in the morning. There would be slightly 5 or 10 minutes delay if in case I join late, but it's almost 8 or 8:05 in the morning. Yep. Thank you, everyone. Let's connect back tomorrow. Have a very good day.